physical therapy and movement lesson and the combination thereof. So I think it's really interesting that a physical therapist said don't do it versus usually it's the alternative. Like I've heard it lots of times. Like I've done so many trainings from ABM and RMT and cranial and all that sort of stuff. And they're just like, this is that there has to be that awareness and the Zen and all that. And if you could, we've had Aaron's 7 kids here. If you could have just seen this place all week, but I'm old school. Mi casa, su casa. It's a very warm and inviting atmosphere here, and everyone's kind of, I wouldn't say running amok, but, they're coming in, coming out, and we just have this nice, peaceful office, but it's not Zen, and we talk as parents, we talk as people, we talk as grandparents, we talk as, you know what I mean, and converse, and sometimes the kids are playing with each other and stuff, and because they're just families. But like I said, I've been with a lot of modalities that are just like, you can only do this. My response is usually, first of all, that no method is too weak for another method. So even if you just say, specifically physical therapy, movement lesson, like I've actually heard people that after a session can't kiss their child, don't talk to them for an hour, that they can only go around in a buggy. You can't even put them in a car seat for an hour until that they're ready to, that they had enough time to integrate the session. And I'm just like, what? Because first of all, kids go to a playground, kids go all over the place, really that awareness feature is not in. And second of all, like I'm happy to explain whatever or like offer, like I just produced Mastering the Touch. It's now out on Amazon. Matter of fact, I'm a little bummed because I was expecting my books all to be here and they're not, and they were supposed to be here. I should check my front desk. They might be sitting there as I said this. But because I always like to check out my books, but it's also nice to have my own books. Make sure that they're printed right. But even though movement lesson is about the touch, because the touch has to be with rotation, and also you don't want, it's not a force-based thing, but it's not touch per se application, it's functional movement. Everything that we're doing here, can the child initiate functional movement, stimulate functional movement, or enhance functional movement, right? And again, we do have different approaches. A lot of people, and I'm not speaking for all physical therapists, believe that it's about strength. And my argument is that just because you're strong doesn't mean you know how to do a movement. And I was saying this to, one of my clients' dad was a drill sergeant kind of thing, boot camp. And I said, sir, because he's like, why can't my daughter do this? And I said, sir, you should know better than anybody else. And just because your child's strong doesn't mean that they can move. Yes, ma'am, you are correct. You know what I mean, kind of thing. But it's about functional movement. And if you can't get in and out of the situation, so, and that's what we're working on here. So, to work with physical therapy, gross motor skills, it's all about getting in and out of the situation. So if anything, to me, it enhances the situation. But there will always be people that just don't realize, or they think alternative means woo-woo, I don't surround myself with blue lights, which might be fine for some practitioner. I don't, as people, when they walk in, sometimes I'm like, yeah, there's nothing hanging from the ceiling. I don't have crystal. And again, it's all those things. I'm not poo-pooing any of those things. I'm just saying that's just me. It's not my vocabulary. Someone wanted to do an article once that I was a healer. And I said, don't you dare. And they're like, what? Your hands are this. And I said, listen, anything that connotates that kind of reference means that I'm special or have a different ability than someone else. And I fully believe, and this is why I do these 15,000 lives and everything like that, and people like Christina watch me all the time, but I will never present that I'm special or different than anybody. If I learned it, then you can learn it. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should learn it, right? Like right now, again, I've said this before, I could go to law school. I don't know if you'd want me representing you in a court of law, but I would be capable of doing it and passing the exam. I believe that full-fledged. But, am I your person? Am I your person to be your plumber? Every specialty has or has people that are great. There's leaders in those roles. There's helpers in those roles. There's followers. I'm a helper. it is it's been, I wouldn't say very difficult, but it's been a challenge for me to learn to be a leader, because that's just not who I am. I'm certainly not a follower. You can X that one out, in any job I've been in. So there's those kind of things that go in, but to understand what functional movement can offer you comes in all sorts of sizes. That's why some kids do soccer, some kids do ballet, some kids, there's different activities, different ways of learning style. But at the same time too, at the end of the day, I think we're both after functional movement. And at the end of the day too, you have to have a home program. If you think that doing anything, including me, once a week or twice a week is going to facilitate changes that are going to be available for a child, just like if your child's going, let's say, for soccer practice, or I did karate for years and so forth. If you don't go home and what they call practice, it shows in your work. I've done, like, again, I said I did ABM training or RMT and all that sort of stuff. You can tell people are like, I'm like, did you not work on your dog for the past 3 months? You're like, somebody. And now that they've changed it, that you can't even work on your children during basic training, I don't agree with that. Your whole purpose that you're there is for your child, but again, the rules keep changing. That's why I really don't talk about that anymore, because I was 07, 09. The core programs changed so much since I've been in. I can't even discuss that. And I don't do any of the work anymore, so there's that. But again, they're still amazing. It takes a lot to step up and become a teacher, versus just being even a brilliant practitioner versus becoming a teacher. But you have to have a home program. So I don't care if you're working with your physio, your OT, and all of this sort of stuff. If they don't give you general stuff that you can be doing, and I love it that you're trying to do 2 hours a day, but please don't feel like, like because you didn't, that something is wrong. But when you're offering a spoon, when you're offering a pencil, when you're offering just head support, all that sort of stuff, you've got the tools to facilitate functional movement within that. And I think that's wonderful. So keep up the good work. Play with it. Do what's best for you and your child. But at the end of the day, don't let their development pass you by because you're waiting for someone else to show up. Those people are there, but they're not there. And that's what's important, is that your child's moving and developing and always progressing, even if it's this much. That's what's the important part. Thanks.